So you play the saxophone, but this naturally leads on to thinking about jazz and so forth, which I understand is a love of yours. Tell us about that.
For me, I actually think about jazz as being more than a music. And so it is that, but I often want to say that it's more than that. And I have, in different ways, tried to integrate that into my work, my thinking, and the way I live life with these other kind of Christian sensibilities. So this notion of syncopation, right? Kind of emphasizing the upbeat, right? Or the offbeat.
Yep.
So there's this sense of this rhythm that is developing, but it's identifying, helping us to identify those things that are not part of the normal routine of things, right? Or maybe being able to identify that which is on the margins, so to speak. And that emphasis of syncopation creates a rhythm, that the rhythm of life develops this pattern of looking on the margins, those things that are not kind of the most obvious or not supposed to be, right? I think this informs my kind of, religious social ethic that I try to think about. Then questions of improvisation, right? In terms of living life. And there's a sense in which I think, now, of course, those who are musicians and study music know this much better than I do. But oftentimes it's the music theory, right, that allows people, or the ability to understand music and play music, to allow people to improvise, right? So in that sense, it's not just something, while it can be spontaneous, it's not coming out of a vacuum in the sense of there's no kind of work that's put in and no resources from which to draw. And so I think that becomes really important as we think about what we put in, the communities that we're part of, how we try to perform the Christian faith, that allows us this ability to be able to improvise, right? Such that.
And what do you think, and what does that mean, do you think? I mean, in Christian ethics, I've heard people speak of that as, as improvisatory. What does it mean to allow people to perform? Could you say more about that?
Yeah. So for me, I take seriously that I think prophetic ethic as well as a wisdom ethic are two streams that flow to this river of moving towards shalom. And so this notion of improvisation, I think, allows us to, I think for me, it reflects the kind of the wisdom ethic in terms of kind of Christian social ethics, this ability to be able to see and discern the moment, right? What to emphasize now as opposed to something else. It just allows us to be able to use the tools, right, on the tool belt, so to speak, in different ways, to be imaginative and creative. I do think biblical justice is creative in a particular way and imaginative. And this notion of improvisation, I believe, fits very well with that kind of creativity. And
That's
then
beautiful.
Yeah, that third motif, right? So not only with the issue of syncopation, but improvisation, and then you have this notion of kind of call and response, right? And others have, many other Christian theologians have pointed this out, right? But I mean, this notion of being in community, the call, right, from the musician to participate in this, the response of those who are listening, whether they are musicians or not, right? Whether they're playing, I should say, playing instruments or not, right? They're still involved in this kind of call and response. And when we think about Christian life, right, it is about that. It's about the theoretical, the call, but also how we respond, how we interact, keeping in mind that some of these groups, even though they may play the same song twice, it's not the same song, right? Is that moment, right, is different, that makes it a different song, even though it's the same song. Now, my analytic philosophy friends will just, go, they're probably bursting blood vessels, right? Thinking, oh, that's
what does same mean? Yes, I know. Forget it. Yeah. No, that's wonderful. I think on the improvisation, that prompts me. The good improviser knows what to play at that time, at that place, but also for these people on this occasion.
That's right.
Peter Riley is a poet. He has a great definition of improvisation as the exploration of occasion. It's a wonderful thing. We have an occasion and we're going to explore it together. There's a time, a specific time, and a specific place. And the wise improviser knows how to do that. And then to pick up on that other thing about it leads to other things. Yeah, good improvisation is always generative. And it's the same surely with wise action in ethics, that it isn't just the right thing to do, end of story, but it will always generate further fruitful indeed loving actions. I love that bit about generativity. And on the question of call and response, that's incredibly important, because an improviser, most improvisers will speak of receiving before they speak about giving. They will speak about the call that comes from, it could be another improviser, it could be just the chords underneath, it could be, but there's always something before them, or a tradition, it could be, which says, so a good improviser is always thinking of the priority of call and then responding to that. And of course, it seems to be a profoundly Christian way of understanding each other and reality and the Christian life, is it not?
Yeah, I certainly think so, right? And again, as I have bumped in to other folks from other traditions, right? There's something else about jazz that they can deeply resonate with, even though we see these deep Christian parallels, right? But there's something that's kind of democratizing, so to speak, about this notion of jazz, and even my understanding of some of the classical instruments, right? That didn't seem to always go together, but now all of a sudden you put them together, right? In this music, called jazz, right? With its pejorative origins and all of that, and creating something that's very, I think, unique, imaginative, and also just beautiful, right?